Henry Baker was born and raised in the small town of Greenfield, Ohio, the son of a simple mechanic and a school teacher. He demonstrated exceptional abilities in mathematics and economics from an early age. After graduating from the local high school with honors in 1998, Henry enrolled in Ohio University's Business Administration program, where his talent for finance fully emerged. It was at university, during his sophomore year, that he first met Megan Thompson. She was studying psychology and working part-time in the university library. Their first encounter happened while Henry was preparing for an important marketing exam. Megan helped him find the necessary literature, and they struck up a conversation that lasted until the library closed. Their relationship developed rapidly. Henry was drawn to Megan's practicality, determination, and, importantly, her faith in his abilities. She came from a middle-class family where hard work, honesty, and mutual support were valued. These qualities significantly influenced the formation of their relationship. After graduating from university in 2002, they got married. The first years of their married life were filled with challenges and trials. Henry began his career as a junior financial analyst at a small investment company in Columbus, while Megan found work as a school psychologist, providing a stable, though modest, income. The turning point in their lives came in 2005 when Henry decided to open his own consulting firm. Megan fully supported his decision despite the risks. She not only provided moral support but also invested all her savings into the company's initial capital. Moreover, she took on additional work at a private school to ensure their financial stability during the business's first few months. Baker Financial Solutions began operations in a small rented office with 2 employees. Thanks to Henry's analytical mind and his ability to find innovative solutions to clients' financial problems, the company quickly gained a reputation as a reliable partner. During this period, Megan took on all the household responsibilities and provided emotional support for her husband, creating a stable foundation for his professional growth. By 2010, Baker Financial Solutions had transformed into one of the state's leading consulting firms, with offices in 3 major cities and a staff of more than 50 employees. Henry and Megan moved to an upscale Columbus neighborhood, bought a large house, and began living a lifestyle that matched their new social status. Their marriage seemed to be a perfect example of how mutual support and trust could lead to success. With growing financial prosperity, noticeable changes began to occur in Henry's life. The company's success opened doors to Ohio's highest business circles, and he increasingly attended elite events, business meetings, and corporate parties. His social circle expanded to include influential businessmen, politicians, and local elite members. In this new environment, Henry felt like a fish in water, easily establishing useful contacts and closing profitable deals. Megan, on the contrary, struggled to adapt to their new social status. Her simplicity in communication and lack of interest in social life began to irritate Henry. At corporate events, she felt uncomfortable, preferring to remain in the background. Her conversations about school problems and working with children seemed out of place in a society where million-dollar deals and political intrigue were discussed. By 2015, the gap between the spouses became obvious. Henry increasingly stayed late at work, explaining it away as important meetings and negotiations. His personal expenses increased significantly. Expensive suits, elite watches, and membership in exclusive clubs became an integral part of his life. Meanwhile, Megan continued working as a school psychologist, finding satisfaction in helping children and their families. Megan's attempts to discuss the changes in their relationship were met with cold resistance. Henry claimed she didn't understand the requirements of his position and the need to maintain a certain image. He began criticizing her choice of clothing, behavior, and even her social circle, which consisted mainly of fellow teachers and old university friends. Particularly sharp conflicts arose before important business events. Henry insisted that Megan take etiquette lessons, social behavior classes, join an elite fitness club, and change her style of dress. For him, it was a matter of prestige and status. Megan perceived these demands as attempts to change her essence, to turn her into someone else. In the summer of 2016, an incident occurred that became a turning point in their relationship. At an important charity event, Megan expressed her sincere opinion about modern education problems during a conversation with an influential investor's wife, which, in Henry's opinion, jeopardized a potential deal. After this incident, he began taking her to business events less frequently, preferring to appear alone or in the company of colleagues. Their life together gradually turned into a formality. They spent less and less time together, barely discussing anything beyond household matters. Meghan tried to maintain intimacy by organizing joint dinners and planning vacations, but Henry found reasons to decline, immersing himself deeper into work and social life. Phoebe Anderson appeared in Henry's life in early 2017 at an annual financial consultants conference in Chicago. She represented a large investment company from New York and gave a presentation on new trends in corporate investing. The 32-year-old Phoebe made an indelible impression, not only with her professionalism but also with her appearance, an elegant blonde with impeccable manners and a sharp mind. After the conference, Henry approached her to discuss potential collaboration between their companies. Their conversation, which began as business-related, smoothly transitioned into informal chat at the hotel bar. Phoebe proved to be an excellent conversationalist, well-versed not only in finance but also in art, fashion, and social life. She spoke the language that was so close to Henry's new lifestyle. Their next meeting took place a week later in Columbus, where Phoebe flew in, supposedly to discuss a potential partnership. The business dinner stretched late into the night. Henry was charmed by how easily Phoebe interacted with waiters, how professionally she understood wines, and how skillfully she maintained conversation on any topic. She embodied everything that, in his opinion, Meghan lacked. Over the next few months, Phoebe became Henry's regular business partner. They met at various conferences, seminars, and corporate events. Henry began specifically planning business trips to coincide with Phoebe's presence. Their relationship quickly went beyond a business partnership, though outwardly everything appeared strictly professional. Phoebe played her role skillfully. At public events, she maintained a respectful distance, but in private settings, she showed complete interest in Henry. She admired his achievements, supported his ambitions, and, most flattering to his ego, shared his views on life and success. By fall 2017, Henry had become almost completely immersed in this new relationship. He paid for expensive gifts and luxury hotel rooms through corporate accounts, disguising them as business expenses. Phoebe received an unofficial position as a consultant in his company, providing legitimate grounds for their frequent meetings and joint trips. Meghan, absorbed in her schoolwork, was unaware of Phoebe's existence. She attributed her husband's frequent absences to his growing business. When she tried to talk about their growing apart, Henry skillfully redirected the conversation to work topics or simply ignored her concerns, citing fatigue and stress. In Columbus's business circles, Phoebe's appearance alongside Henry elicited various reactions. Some saw it as purely a business partnership, while others suspected the true nature of their relationship but preferred to remain silent, considering Henry's growing influence in the business community. In early 2018, an unprecedented opportunity opened up for Henry's company. A group of Chinese investors showed interest in expanding their presence in the American market through a partnership with Becker Financial Solutions. The potential deal was valued at $50 million and could take the company to an international level. Henry saw this as a chance not only to increase his wealth, but also to strengthen the firm's position in the global market. The key meeting with investors was scheduled for March 15, 2018, in Los Angeles. A 3-day visit was planned, including official negotiations, informal meetings, and a formal dinner. Henry understood that every detail of this meeting had to be flawless. The social aspect was particularly important. The Chinese partners placed great value on family values and traditions. Henry faced a difficult choice. The protocol required his spouse's presence at such a meeting, but the thought that Meghan might spoil the impression with her simple behavior terrified him. After several sleepless nights, he decided to take Phoebe with him, presenting her as his wife. Phoebe, well-versed in Asian culture and fluent in Mandarin, seemed like the perfect choice. The trip preparation was thorough. Henry told Meghan he was flying to important negotiations alone as it was strictly business. Phoebe received detailed instructions about how to behave and what to say. Every detail of their story was thought through, including their meeting history and life together. Henry even bought Phoebe a wedding ring identical to Meghan's. The first 2 days of the meeting went exceptionally well. Phoebe charmed the Chinese investors with her knowledge of their culture and traditions. During business negotiations, she skillfully maintained conversations, demonstrating a deep understanding of financial matters. Her presence seemed to only strengthen the potential partners' trust in Henry and his company. The decisive dinner was organized at one of Los Angeles's most prestigious restaurants. Everything was going according to plan until a group of businessmen from Columbus entered the hall. Among them was David Harris, Henry's longtime business partner who knew Meghan well. Upon seeing Henry with Phoebe, introduced as Mrs. Becker, David couldn't hide his surprise. This moment marked the beginning of the end. Although David made no public statements that evening, his reaction didn't go unnoticed by the Chinese partners. Their representative, Mr. Zhang, known for his perceptiveness in evaluating people, began showing noticeable signs of concern. The atmosphere at the table changed markedly. Though outwardly everyone continued to observe the rules of politeness, Henry felt the situation slipping out of control but couldn't do anything about it. He understood that his carefully constructed plan was beginning to crumble but continued playing his role until the end of the evening, hoping he could somehow fix the situation later. Events began to unfold rapidly the morning after the fateful dinner. David Harris, tormented by moral principles and friendly feelings toward Megan, decided to act. He called her early in the morning and told her what he had seen at the restaurant. Megan, initially refusing to believe what she heard, began putting together pieces of the puzzle that had long raised her suspicions. Frequent business trips, late-night calls, unexplained expenses on the corporate card. Meanwhile, the Chinese investors, for whom family values were not just words but a fundamental basis for any business relationship, began their own investigation. Their security service quickly established Phoebe's real identity and her connection to Henry's company. The information that a potential partner had resorted to such serious deception led to the immediate termination of all negotiations. Megan, having received confirmation of her husband's infidelity, acted decisively. She contacted one of Ohio's best family law attorneys and began gathering evidence: corporate expenses related to Phoebe, hotel bookings, airline tickets, and expensive gifts. All of this formed a convincing picture not only of marital infidelity but also of financial manipulation using company funds. News of the failed deal with Chinese investors quickly spread through Columbus's business circles. Becker Financial Solutions shareholders demanded an emergency board meeting. At this meeting, it was revealed that Henry had not only used corporate funds for personal purposes but had also given Phoebe access to confidential company information without proper legal authorization. The reputational damage proved catastrophic. Clients began massively terminating contracts, unwilling to deal with a company whose leader was involved in such a scandal. Becker Financial Solutions shares fell by 60% in 1 week. The board of directors unanimously voted to remove Henry from his CEO position and initiated an internal investigation of his activities. Phoebe, sensing the approaching collapse, quickly distanced herself from the situation. She resigned from her New York company and disappeared from view, leaving Henry to deal with the consequences of their scheme alone. Later, it was discovered that she had been involved in similar schemes with other businessmen, though not on such a scale. Megan filed for divorce, demanding a fair division of property and compensation for moral damages. Her lawyers prepared a lawsuit, including evidence of misuse of corporate funds, which automatically drew attention from the Tax Service and the Securities and Exchange Commission. By the end of March 2018, Henry's life had turned to ruins. His marriage, career, and reputation had suffered irreparable damage. The company he had built for years was on the verge of bankruptcy, and he himself became the subject of several investigations. The trial began in May 2018 and lasted almost a year. The Ohio State Prosecutor's Office charged Henry with fraud, embezzlement of corporate funds, and providing false information to investors. The investigation revealed that over the 2 years of his relationship with Phoebe, more than $800,000 in personal expenses had been processed through corporate accounts, disguised as business meetings and consulting services. Parallel to the criminal process, the divorce proceedings with Megan were ongoing. Her lawyers presented the court with comprehensive evidence not only of marital infidelity but also of systematic emotional abuse that Henry had subjected his wife to in the final years of their marriage. Testimony from company employees and business partners confirmed how he deliberately isolated Megan from social life and humiliated her professionally. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, conducted its own investigation into the activities of Becker Financial Solutions. It was discovered that Henry had not only used corporate funds for personal purposes but had also provided false information about the company's financial condition to attract new investors. This led to an additional charge of violating federal securities law. In February 2019, the court delivered its verdict in the criminal case. Henry was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to 5 years in prison with a subsequent 3-year probation period. Additionally, he was ordered to pay a fine of $2 million and compensate for damages caused to the company and investors. The divorce proceedings concluded in Megan's favor. The court awarded her 60% of their jointly acquired property, including the house in Columbus's prestigious district, and a significant portion of Henry's remaining financial assets. She also received rights to half of his pension savings and investment portfolios. Becker Financial Solutions couldn't recover from the scandal. Despite new management's attempts to stabilize the situation, the company continued losing clients and investors. By the end of 2019, the decision was made to sell the company's assets to a larger competitor, leading to mass employee layoffs and the effective end of the brand. Phoebe was never held accountable for her role in this story. According to reliable sources, she left the country and settled in Europe, where she continued her activities under a different name. Attempts to hold her accountable as an accomplice to fraud were unsuccessful due to the lack of an extradition agreement with her new country of residence. Many of Henry's former business partners and employees suffered financially and reputationally due to his actions. Some lost significant investments, while others were forced to seek new employment in conditions where association with the scandal-ridden company became a serious obstacle to finding work. Henry Baker's story became a cautionary tale of how personal ambition and moral degradation can lead to the complete downfall of a successful person. Analysis conducted by specialists in corporate ethics and psychology revealed several key factors that led to such an outcome. First and foremost, the change in Henry's value system occurred gradually as his financial well-being grew. Starting with a sincere desire for success and building a business together with his supportive wife, he gradually became a hostage to his own notions of status and prestige. Psychologists noted a classic behavioral pattern where material success leads to a distortion of one's moral compass. As of 2022, when this study was conducted, Henry was still serving his sentence in a minimum security federal prison. According to his lawyers, he participates in a rehabilitation program and counsels other inmates on financial matters. Prison psychologists note that he has finally begun to realize the magnitude of his mistakes and their impact on others' lives. Megan managed to rebuild her life after the divorce. She continued working as a school psychologist, but also began conducting seminars for women who had experienced emotional abuse in relationships. Her experience and professional knowledge helped many people cope with similar situations. In 2021, she published a book, Behind the Facade of Success, where she detailed her experience and offered practical advice for people in similar circumstances. The Columbus business community learned serious lessons from this story. Many companies revised their corporate governance policies and ethical codes. Stricter mechanisms were introduced for controlling corporate spending and vetting business partners. Henry Baker's story became part of the business ethics curriculum in several state business schools. Law enforcement agencies used this case to improve methods for detecting corporate fraud, with special attention paid to verifying executives' personal expenses disguised as business operations. The SEC tightened reporting requirements for public companies and expanded its whistleblower protection program. According to financial analysts, the total damage from Henry's actions, including losses to investors, employees, and company partners, exceeded $100 million. This case became one of the largest corporate scandals in Ohio state history and served as a warning to other businesspeople tempted to use their position for personal gain. The collapse of Henry Baker's empire reminds us that true success isn't measured solely by financial indicators. Reputation, honesty, and loyalty to principles remain fundamental values, ignoring which inevitably leads to catastrophic consequences.